two, testing, 1, 2. Testing, 1, 2.
Yeah, go tell them a little more. We get ready to start. Give me some time. Say something, Dave.
All right, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
You got it?
Yeah, you go ahead.
All right, so back to the resting. The other thing that goes with it is water. If you don't have water in the pasture, it's hard to rest it because you can't lock them up in there and leave it there. We like to get water within 1,000 foot. 800 is better. Because what happens is a cow, just think this is a water trough. An old cow, she's going to graze out about 800 foot. She can come back to here and drink water and then go back out. So that water, that pasture out there, half a mile, it may be this tall where your water around here and your water trough is going to be like 2 inches tall. So that's another reason we bust it up and force them to eat in one spot. That way they get that grass out there in the edges. You still have that drone footage.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Roll. Making a couple of adjustments here. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone for coming. This is live. I'm gonna have to turn that roster down. Okay. All right, I believe this is better. Good afternoon, Lewisville, Arkansas. Thank you guys so much for having us here. My name is Albert Jones. I'm the farm director with Arkansas Land. Does everyone have a program? All right. Okay. Does everyone have a program? We're going to start this off, and I'm tweaking, and we're getting it right. We have the moderator from this district, the PLM and the Baptist district here with us. Reverend Tatum, would you come and start us off with the word of prayer, please? You can walk around there, and everybody, please be aware of the cords. We have them take down as you walk from here. The microphone, we'll have possession of it. But Reverend Tatum is going to lead us with the word of prayer. And that's what the camera, where you can see, when you see it right, there you go. We got him good.
May we pray. Father and our God, we come now in the name of your daughter, son Jesus. Yeah. We come calling on you because, Lord, the help that we know. We understand, Lord, if God withdraw ourselves from us, oh, where shall we go? We ask the Lord, just have your way. We pray in the name of Jesus that your will be done. We pray, Lord, that you open up our heart and our mind, that we can be able to receive whatever needs to be received on today, that we can be able to go out and be able to tell men about what is going on in our city today. Lord, we love you now. And we just pray that you just continue to help us. Yes, Lord. And continue to anoint us and continue to guide us and teach us and help us to be what you desire for us to be. Yeah. That when it's all over, when this world came for us, we want to hear your welcome, Lord, when you say, servant, well done. You have been faithful over a few things. Come on up a little bit higher, and I'll make you ruler over men. Bless right now. Bless right now. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Reverend Tatum, can you tell individuals who are online audience about the district and as being the moderator, your position?
Well, brothers and sisters, on this evening, it's just a blessing to be here. And in my, I'm new in this position, but I believe in if we work together, we can get the job done. And it always have been my motto. My motto is work together, because I understand together we stand, divided we fall. And this is just something that I'm new in, and I'm just asking, I just ask cooperation of each and every individual. We just pray that we can continue to be what the Lord will have us to be. Because we know that we can do nothing without him. And I understand that. And I feel like I can be whatever God will have me to be, as long as I stay humble and let him use me. Amen. Let him use me. And then because I understand that it's nothing that I can do without him. And so I need him every day of my life. And I just pray that we'll continue to grow in the Lord. That when it's all over, we'll be able to hear his welcome voice when he says, servant, well done. You have been faithful with these things. And that's what it's all about. What? Being what? Faithful. Yeah. The scripture said, be thou faithful unto death, and I will give you a crown of life. Yeah. We got to be faithful. Amen. We can't be. Hey, I say it like this. Sometimes we just like a whole car. We hit and we miss. Yeah, yeah. Sometimes we do more hit than we do miss and than we do hit. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Tatum. For the online audience, Dr. King, are you there? Dr. King, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me? I'm here.
We have not been able. We can't hear him. We want to, Dr. King, would you say something, please? We want to hear you on the speaker.
Yes. Can you hear me? Can you
Gotta go through some sound checks and make sure you can hear the presenters.
I can hear you all quite well.
Some of the sound checks we can't make happen until we start. As we're having people online. Yeah, we just need, oh yes, you can have them sign in there.
Albert.
While we are ironing these differences out, I would just like to thank Ms. Rebecca Martin, one of individual who worked with us and was very instrumental in us coming down here. Board member of Arkansas Land and Community, Arkansas Land Farming Development Corporation. And also Mr. and Mrs. Walker. Hall, I'm sorry, Hall, I want to call everybody Walker. Mr. and Mrs. Hall, they're going to do the welcome. And then once they finish the welcome, my boss, Dr. Calvin King, is going to come on and tell you guys an overview of the organization. I'll just would like to rock this while we're straightening these technical difficulties out. The name of our parent organization, Arkansas Land Farm Development Corporation, we've been around 41 years, going on 41 years. We were founded on the campus of Arkansas A&M, which is the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff, some 40 plus years ago on Black land retention. So we came in working with farmers and ranchers since our inception. Dr. King, can you hear me?
Yes, Albert, can you all hear me?
Albert, can you hear me? Anybody, Diamond, can you hear me? Is anybody online? Can you hear me? I need you guys to say something where we can hear you. But we can't hear. That one's hooked up?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, he's online. We'll figure it out.
Albert.
Let's turn it on and off. And we'll go
Albert, can you hear? Albert, apparently it's on your end. Other people can hear me.
No. We weren't able to hear you in the meeting, Doc. You just came on. Mike, would you put it at that table right here? Doc, would you say something else?
Yes, I say I can hear you. Can you all hear me? Other people can hear me.
Yeah, we just begin to hear you right there. All right, we're at the portion of the program to where we have Mr. and Mrs. Hall, I believe Mr. Hall, I don't see Miss Hall walking up here, so Mr. Hall, Mr. and Mrs. Hall are going to welcome us to their fair city. And here is the camera as far as the online audience. Or you keep on Miss Hall will take care of that. She's our secretary. She takes care of all of that. Okay. All right. I am Mr. Hall. You are Mr. Hall. And thank you for having us set up. Miss Hall, I need you to look just right here and hold the mic there for the online audience. And look in that camera and they see you. We got people throughout the country, in Washington, D.C. and a number of places.
On behalf of the Lafayette and Miller Baptist District Association, I want to wish each of you a great welcome. We are honored that you have come this afternoon, and we thank you so much for coming. And may I tell you a little bit about Lafayette and Miller Baptist District Association. We are a group of organized churches that have come together and we work for the community. We have a community gym that we're in the process of remodeling, that we allow the children to come in and play. We have a food drive that we give food out every 2 months. We also have a disaster fund that we furnish to people that having disasters, fires, and different things. But we are a community organization, a Baptist district organization, a group of churches that works for our community. We teach classes on educate our people from the Bible, and we're trying to do a lot of different things. And we greatly appreciate you all coming out this evening.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right. Does everyone have a program? Like, we got the program in the chat box. For the individuals online, the agenda is in the chat box. Next, we have our boss and one of the original founders of the organization, Dr. Calvin R. King Sr., as far as doing the interview. Dr. King will be the moderator from afar. Any questions that anyone have, just put them in the chat room. In the audience here, I'll be in the presence. You can ask me and we'll put them online. With no further ado, Dr. King, you there?
Yes, I am, Albert. Can you all hear me?
Yeah, we can now.
I'd like to say good afternoon to everyone, both those who are in person as well as those that's online. Again, as Albert said, my name is Calvin King, and I'm the president of Arkansas Land and Community Development Corporation. This meeting today is all about outreach, One USDA, and I'd like to add on to that, along with it being One USDA, based on the resource agencies that we are partnering with. It's also about One USDA as it relates to equity and equality for the underserved and underserved communities. And so this particular agenda that we have today, it's about providing information on the resource agencies and how to access those resources as it relates to rural, community, and urban economic development for those underserved and unserved areas. The ultimate goal here today is not to make sure that everyone has all of the details on what has to be dealt with in the process, but to understand the agencies themselves, what they have to offer, and how to do the necessary follow-up to access those resources. That access or assistance in accessing those resources can be done in a twofold manner, either by working directly with Arkansas Land and Community Development Corporation and its staff, and we work in partnership with the agencies, or by contacting those agencies directly, and they will provide you the information on how to do that. USDA has an abundance of resources. One of the goals of USDA now is to address equity and equality. And of course, equity and equality, this is not a first step to address equity and equality. it is something that has been approached and has been identified over the years. One has been with the Jackson Lewis reports. The other was the Civil Rights Action Team report back some years ago under previous administration. So while it is not a first step, I want those who are a part of this particular meeting to understand that it is not necessarily an easy process as well. There are sometimes barriers that make it that have the tendency of making it a little bit more challenging for us to make sure that access is provided. That's why outreach is offered. And sometimes it's a matter of making sure that the necessary policies or regulations are in place to better address the needs in the local communities, rural residents, our farmers, and in other areas, not just from an agriculture perspective. I heard Ms. Hall, she gave reference to a number of things that the organization is doing in their local community. I want to express my appreciation for this opportunity for us to partner with the organization, and hopefully we'll be able to do some additional follow-up from here. One of the things that I like to leave in place, so hopefully that we can put this in place as we have in other areas, is that after the meeting that we will have follow-up with individuals in the local area as a part of the partnership connection, and start to really identify some of the broad areas of needs that exist and what will be the best approach for us addressing those issues and better understanding the barriers. We won't get all of them on the table today. It's impossible to do it in one day. It'd be impossible to do it in 1 month or 6 months or so. Again, it is work in process, and it has been work in process over the years, both by our organization, as Albert gave reference to. Our program delivery services have been around for some 41 years. And of course, USDA has been around a lot longer, and it's not just USDA. As you look at the overall structure base and understand how we address policy, how we deal with policy, how we deal with implementation of those policies and regulations, and of course, how those policies and those regulations is the outgrowth from what is legislation, those laws that are created that are established for the purpose of delivery of certain services and appropriation of certain resources to address what those needs are. So we won't get into all of that today. I know USDA has taken some very broad steps to move in the right direction, and we'll hopefully be able to support them in that whole process to the greatest extent possible, along with the partnership at the local level. So I'm going to move ahead with the agenda at this point, and I know we're going to be strapped for time here. The first work session is with USDA Natural Resource Conservation Services. I think that's Mr. James Reynolds, who's going to be to present on that, and hoping that Mr. Reynolds is online. I know we do have Natural Resource Conservation that is online. Are they in person? Who's presenting for NRCS?
Who's here in person? Mr. Reynolds is the district conservationist for this county, and we're about to switch him. About to switch over, Mike. Here we go. And we may want to use this mic because just to get people online, we got to adjust it. For online people.
Okay, so I'm James Reynolds. I'm the district conservationist.
Yeah. Got to talk into it. All right, come right here, James. There you go. There you go. There.
He's got me now.
Okay. He's like, give the liver. Oh, speaking the mic.
Okay.
Tell us.
So I'm James Reynolds. I'm the district conservationist.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you want it.
It look like it's doing like it want to do. All right, say something, James.
Y'all hear me?
Yep, we do.
They can hear me.
Okay, if they ask Dr. King, can you hear him good online?
How's it sound online?
Yes, you're clear. You're clear.
Okay, you're clear. We don't need. You clear. You don't need. Just talk.
Okay. So I'm James Reynolds, district conservationist. The biggest takeaway I want y'all to hear from today is just come see us. I mean, we can throw out practices and ideas and dollar figures all day long, but until we come see your farm, it's just all a guessing game. But once we get out there, we can look, like I saw things on the video a while ago that I could point out that we've done in the past and things that maybe we can fix before or after that. Most of the stuff in this county that I've dealt with is going to be row crop, forestry, and pasture. A lot of pasture, a lot of forestry. So our main program is Environmental Quality Incentives Program. It's a practice incentive program where we pay for work that's done. So say for forestry, that might be tree planting. We're going to pay a percentage of the fund or percentage of the cost to get the trees site prepped and put in the ground. I think there's a couple in this room that's done that here. We also have a conservation stewardship program that on the forestry side, it takes care of maybe thinning, some burning, some different types of management practices. And it works especially good for thinning young pines that you can't get the work. You can't get somebody to come cut those little pine trees that are just pulpwood. They're not worth much. Our signups they're continuous. They go all year long. You can sign up today or in November. We're funding right now. So anybody that signed up before about November 15th of 2021, we're looking at them and seeing who's funded. The catch to that is you may sign up November the 1st of 2021, and we won't look at you until next year at this time. So I'm saying that to say, y'all may think we're not doing anything, but we work for the government and sometimes we're slow. So all private land's eligible and just be an ag producer. So sign up year round. Our practices include high tunnels, tree planting, anything to help grazing efficiency, anything to improve water quality or stop erosion. And y'all hit me with some questions. What are y'all thinking about?
What counties did you say you serve?
And I serve Columbia and Lafayette County. There's one person pretty much per county, except like I'm in Columbia, Lafayette. Over in this side of the state, we end up having two counties a lot of times. So Washita, Union are together, Hempstead, Nevada, Highland Pike. So there's somebody wherever you're from. And we're pretty easy to find. So any other questions or hit me with something?
Could you tell us about seasonal high tunnel?
Okay, the seasonal high tunnel, you can think of it like a greenhouse without a heater. It's going to give you 2 to 3 weeks in the spring, extra, and 2 to 3 weeks, maybe longer in the fall. It's not really designed to carry you all winter, but it is designed to extend that growing season. You want to put your highest value crops in it, and you'll have to, there's a little management to go with it. You want to get the cover off. If it's about to come a heavy snow like we had a year ago, and you want to, a day like today, when it turns 80, you want to get the sides up so you don't cook what's inside it. So.
Someone asked, what about small cattle farmers with 142 acre grazing?
Yeah, that's good.
Would you repeat your question, Mr. Rose?
So someone asked about a 142 acre cow farm with 142 acres of grazing. We would look at that, and actually that's not just terribly small. That's a pretty decent size to work with. We would look at it to do rotational grazing, maybe set up some cross fencing, some water, whatever they need.
Okay, here. I'm actually talking to my grandson. He had to go to work. Now, first time for a rancher.
Right.
How will they come in?
So the way our funding's set up is we have historically underserved, the beginning farmer, and I think that's most of them.
New beginning farmer.
No beginning farmer ranchers, beginning farmer. The more of those boxes you check, the more chances you get. So what we do is NRCS has a funding pool for each one of those categories. And the more of those boxes you check, you're competing with everybody. So like me, I might just get in the local money. New and beginning farmer is going to hit 2 or 3 of those. Plus, they're going to get about a 10 or 15% more higher payment. So it gives you a better shot.
Now, do you have cards with you today?
I sure don't, but I can write something down for you.
Please.
Okay.
You're talking about people who might have land that they want trees, planted on and everything. What is the percentage of what the conservation department, what they will pay, or will they come out and plant the trees? What's the process?
Okay, so for tree planting, the money kind of depends. I I think y'all said a forester was gonna talk later.
Yeah, the county forester
Okay.
is here.
He will come out and give you a planting plan. So if he says spray, burn, plant, we're gonna pay for each one of those. So the spray, about $80, what they're gonna charge, we're gonna pay 50, 60, I'm guessing. I used to could remember the numbers, I can't anymore. And then we're gonna pay about 50 on the burn, which that one's gonna come out about even. And then the trees, we're gonna pay somewhere around $50, $60 an acre, depending on how it scores and what kind of trees you plant. They will write the plan, and then it's good to have them there before they start planting. The tree planter starts planting, and let them talk, the forestry commission talk to them. That way they get they know that they're being checked on that tree planting job. And then in 2 weeks, the forestry commission comes back and they do a planting inspection to make sure the trees are planted correctly and handled correctly. And that gives you a planting score, and that's how we pay. I would advise not to pay that tree planter until they've checked that, because you don't have any teeth to get them to come back and fix a problem if they make a mistake planting. And we had one last year, they made a pretty bad mistake, and we had to get them completely replant the deal. So.
And will you help them locate the person?
Right, we will help them. We will help locate. We don't do any of the work, but we can give you a list of names, and we can give you some numbers, phone numbers, and some guys to call, businesses to call. That will do all the work.
Mr. Roll, Keith Stock, the district forester for this county, you know Keith Stock?
Yes, sir.
Keith Stock is going to be speaking next. He's coming up.
Okay.
He'll be on after 4, so he'll be on after Casey Clark.
Okay. No, ma'am.
Mr. Rose, would you repeat that question?
She asked if there was a certain amount. We don't have a minimum acreage. Sometimes if you get too big, it's harder, but really we work from anywhere from 5 or 10 acres up to 300 or 400 usually.
There's a question on here. Do we need to complete a CCC 860 form, socially disadvantaged form?
Ours is self-certified.
Repeat that
So
question.
yeah, you said a 860.
She has on her CCC 860 social disadvantage form.
Okay, there was a question online about a CCC 860 social disadvantage form. For us, there's not a form like that to fill out. On the EQIP application or the CSP application, there's a place to check whether you're a beginning farmer or any of those boxes, and it's self-certification, and that's all there is to it. So.
Will they need a form number?
Yes, now that is one thing. That's a little bit of trouble. The silent process is it's almost easy, but then it's not. The 1200 is pretty easy, name, address, and we help you fill it out. But then we need a copy of the deed so that we know what land we're working with, if there's not already a farm number. So you get a copy of the deed. We have to have a social security number, a tax ID number for everyone listed on the deed. We go to FSA with that, turn it in. They will do the map work, give you a farming tract number, and then that's what we use to find your land in our system and pull it over.
So when you get to the discussion on our property, you will also explain that concept, if you were wanting to do that each person.
Right, so if it's air property, we end up having to have a whole bunch of social security numbers. If there's a whole bunch of people on the deed, it's anybody on the deed, and we have to trace it to the one body that's here with us today and who's doing the work. And the other side of that is, like say tree planting, things like that, who's going to take the tax hit? Because you're going to get the money, but then so do you want to share it with everybody, or you don't want to share the management with everybody? Some of those decisions we need to know before you get to see us. So.
Dr. King is going to do our property. There's our property question that she has, and Dr. King will be doing our property later on. Are there any more questions for Mr. Reynolds? Thank you so much, Mr. Reynolds.
No problem. Thank you.
If you could hang around for a minute.
Hey, Albert.
Yeah.
Ask James to talk briefly about keeping it in the family.
Okay.
Keeping the family is another side of EQIP. and Alvin may know more than me, but it's the other side of equip. There's a little bit of stuff to deal with the air property in that, I believe. And it deals with the forestry side of equip, like the tree planting, tree management, things like that, burning. It's just another little piece of the pie that we pull out of to get stuff funded. I don't know if that's what Alvin had in mind.
Alvin, I believe if you want to tell them something about it.
Okay, keeping in the family is a portion of EQIP that is a set aside strictly for socially disadvantaged producers in certain counties located here in Arkansas. That particular program, can you all hear me okay?
No, we don't know who you are.
Oh, I'm sorry. Good afternoon. My name is Alvin Pierre. I'm the state outreach coordinator for the Natural Resource Conservation Service. But what I was saying was keeping in a family is another opportunity for socially disadvantaged producers to actually apply to get assistance for forestry practices. It also, through keeping in the family, working with UAPB and associates connected to NRCS, is another opportunity for you to also work with Dr. King, looking at the air property concerns to help ensure that you're eligible for the practices that are being offered. So it's another opportunity to get additional information to get further in our programs. So I just wanted to put that one out there as well to let people know that option is out there as well, to work and coincide with ALFDC to get more information on clearing up air property, especially with forestry land. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brother Pierre.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you, Mr. Rose. Appreciate it. Dr. King, you there?
Yes, I'm still here, Albert.
All right, let's go.
I wanted to do just a very brief follow-up as a relationship to the air property is an issue, particularly within the African American community, and of course, a descendant distribution as it has to do with inheritance itself, and it goes across the board. Whenever you're talking about real property, and if there has been no will left and there has not been a probate process to establish who the heirs are through the courts, and there has not been any established administrative authority as relates to that real property. And that's any type of real property, be it forestry land, farmland, any land in general. From the programmatic perspective, I will add that, again, USDA has an abundance of resources, and how those resources are being offered as it relates to access and equity and equality. Now, that's very broad, in some aspect of it when we say equity and equality, and basically we're talking about equal access, and in certain cases, in dealing with the equity building, equal access building, special programs. Keeping in the Family is one such programs that address the issue around equity and the equality aspect of it. There are other programs as well, and where there are organizations that are working in partnership with Natural Resource and Conservation Services, and I must say they have probably one of the most, don't have some of the greatest diversity and partnerships within USDA in dealing with program service delivery, and I commend them for that. And even with all that is being offered, I'm not saying that is sufficient, but as I mentioned on the front end, steps are being taken, and to the extent that more work will be done is to the extent that we have public input on the part of individuals at the local level, whatever the barriers are, how you feel we can best address those barriers, be it Arkansas Land and Community Development Corporation, or other organizations in partnership with the NRCS or directly NRCS itself. Again, not all the details. I want to thank them for the presentation that was done. Air property is going to be issued across the board. NRCS, FSA is the issue, USDA rural development is the issue. Again, whatever you're talking about, real property, and you do not have clear title and ownership of that property. We do offer an educational manual that we can send to individuals, and Albert may have some there for you all who are in person today. If so, I would suggest that you get a copy of that particular educational manual, and we also have a summary instruction piece on our property itself and how to address the issue. I'm saying this because it's come up now after an attempt that we won't have to go back through this on the tail end on the air property, because air property again is across the board. I will talk about more specifically, but let's move ahead with the agenda. And next we have on session 2. This session is to provide information on USDA resource opportunities and the business of farming. And this is with Farm Service Agency. Now I see Albert, we have 2 session 1, but under session 2, we have Farm Service Agency. Do we have a representative for Farm Service Agency that's present online?
Casey. Yes, she's online. Casey, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
I see you. Yeah, okay.
Yes, yes, I'm here, and I do have a PowerPoint presentation. I wasn't sure if everyone would be able to see it or not. If you wanted me to share it.
Yeah, yes, you can share it.
Yes,
Casey,
please do that.
yes, we have you on a screen with about 25 individuals here, and I don't know how many people are online, but yeah, we'll share the screen.
Okay. All right. Okay. So yes, I'm Casey Crum. I'm the County Executive Director for Lafayette, Columbia, and Miller County for the Farm Service Agency. And today I do have this PowerPoint. I will go over and just talk a little bit about the disaster programs we have and for beginning farmers, and touch a little bit on air property. So I'll just go ahead and get started. So the Farm Service Agency is part of the U.S. Department of Agriculture, and we have programs and loans to help farmers, ranchers, and agricultural partner organizations. And this is just a random fact that by the year 2050, the world's population will number 9.7 billion. And that means we'll need to double our food production to feed a growing population. So here are some of our farm programs. They cover safety net programs, conservation. We also have aerial photography and market facilitation programs. For the farm loans, I believe someone else may be covering this, but for farm loans, there's several different types: the direct farm ownership and operating loans, guaranteed farm ownership and operating, direct and guaranteed microloans, direct emergency loans, and direct youth loans, and guaranteed conservation loans. And so today, I'll just talk just a little bit about new and beginning farmers and ranchers and air property operators. I'll also just cover a little bit about specialty farmer groups, FSA updates, and information resources. So if you're new to farming, USDA considers anyone who has operated a farm or ranch for less than 10 years to be a beginning farmer or rancher. And so for some of our programs, that is beneficial. Other programs we have, it doesn't help with anything, but typically if you have farmed for less than 10 years, you may receive more than someone else who hasn't. So the first step in working with FSA is just contacting the service center and making an appointment. And if you do need information in a language other than English, we do offer free translation services. And we also have a beginning farmer and rancher coordinator that can help anybody understand the process a little better. And so for Arkansas, his name is Derek Johnson, and that's his email address, derek.johnson@usda.gov. And that's just another person who could explain it a little bit more. So to obtain a farm number, if you haven't worked with FSA before, typically we do ask for a deed, but for air property, we don't have to have a deed. We do use that farm number for any programs that we have, and as well as any programs NRCS offers. And I believe, like James said earlier, there's no minimum acreage to register as a farm. So even if you only have 1 acre, we can still issue a farm number. And so the only thing you would need to do is just contact your local FSA office, and anyone who is listed as owner, if you're not already in our system, we would just need your name, address, and social security number, and that just puts you in our system so we can list you as owner of the property. And also, if you don't own the land, but you do lease it, you can bring in a lease agreement that shows you have control of the property. And a lot of times we'll normally have the boundaries already drawn off, and we can put you on that farm with that lease agreement, even if you don't own it. And also, whenever you come in, there may be eligibility forms you'll have to complete. But if you're only wanting a farm number, you won't have to complete any of these eligibility forms. These are just basic ones that we use whenever you do sign up for our programs. And for air property, if you have inherited land without a clear title or documented legal ownership, we can still help you get a farm number. And something that they did change that is new, instead of a deed, we can actually receive a self-certification that the individual has control of the land for purposes of operating a farm or a ranch. So just a self-certification will be fine for air property, and we can establish that farm number. And this just talks about alternative documentation. Instead of needing the deed, we can take other types of documentation. And so here are a few of the programs that we offer. The first one is the agricultural risk coverage and price loss coverage. This one's going to be for farmers who have row crops such as wheat, cotton, corn, and a payment is made whenever the actual revenue falls below the expected revenue. For this WIP Plus program, we don't have that right now. That was something we had going on in the past. There may be something in the future, but right now we don't have sign up for that program. And then the NAP program, this provides assistance to producers who have non-insurable crops whenever there's low yields, a loss of inventory, or preventive planning occurs due to any type of natural disaster. And this program would cover grazing and hay land for livestock. We also have the livestock indemnity program. This program would provide assistance if any livestock is killed due to a natural disaster. The most common one around here is normally lightning. So if someone has livestock that has been killed by lightning, the main thing to do is just contact your local FSA office, And you don't have to come in person, just calling us will be fine. And that would need to be done within 30 days of whenever the event happened. And then also try to take pictures, any type of documentation, pictures, and contacting us will help with this program, and it will pay on anything above normal mortality. So whatever you would normally lose during the year, this program pays above that normal mortality. And this is another program we have for livestock, honeybees, and farm-raised fish. It's ELAP, and it provides compensation due to disease, due to some type of natural disaster also. The TAP program, the Tree Assistance Program, it provides financial assistance if you have nursery tree growers or anyone who has an orchard. If they are lost due to a natural disaster, that program will also provide assistance. We also have the Margin Protection Program for dairy, and we don't have anyone in this area that is signed up for that, but it is a program that is available, and in case anyone does have a dairy. So with FSA, we have historically underserved farmers and ranchers, and this also includes beginning farmers, socially disadvantaged, limited resource, and military veterans. And it just says for additional information, a resource we do have is to contact farmers.gov or your local service center. So for urban farmers, we have, it refers to the cultivation, processing, and distribution of agricultural products in urban and suburban settings. And urban farmers and gardeners, they work among diverse populations to expand access to nutritious foods, foster community engagement, provide jobs, and educate communities about farming and expand green spaces. And USDA has been helping more and more farms and gardens in urban centers. And for more information on that, again, you can just go to farmers.gov or contact your local service center. We also have a program for organic farmers. If you are an organic farmer, you can apply for the same loans and programs as a conventional farmer. And with this organic certification cost share program, you can receive a portion of whatever cost you paid to become certified organic. FSA will reimburse a percentage of those expenses. And again, this is just a resource we have, farmers.gov, where you can create an account and verify your identity. And it's just somewhere where you can look at more information, and just a resource that is online that any producers can use. And with the farmers.gov, you can view, print, and export detailed farm records, such as cropland, base acres, especially if you have a farm number drawn off. You can print a farm map and different information that you don't have to come to the office for. You can just do this all online on your own. And then we also have county committee elections. The county committees help carry out the farm programs in every local FSA office. And we have elections every year. So if anyone receives a ballot, they can vote for whoever they would like to represent them in a certain area. In the past, we used to mail newsletters, but within the past several years, we've been emailing newsletters. So if you're interested in receiving an email bulletin from FSA, you can sign up at www.fsa.usda.gov and /subscribe, and you'll be able to click which county office you would be interested in receiving news from. And we only send out either 1 or 2 a month. So we're not going to fill your inbox with a lot of emails. And then here's another way you can keep up by text messaging. You would just text AR and the county, like AR Lafayette, to 372-669. And we don't send out very many text messages, only whenever there's a deadline coming up that we want to remind producers about. And this is just another way you can receive information from us. This is another resource that if you go to this website, ask.usda.gov, you can ask questions. It's available 24/7. So if it's after hours and you're wanting to know something, you can go to this website and you'll receive answers to questions and receive the notifications when the answers are updated. And that completes the PowerPoint that I have. If anyone has any questions for me.
Anyone in the audience? Does anyone in the audience have a question?
We'd like to thank Farmer Service Agency for that information regarding the program service delivery on the part of USDA FSA. Castel, I want to mention one thing. I asked if you would do this. I know you gave reference to the different loan programs, both the direct loan program as well as the guarantee program and the microloan program. Would you please give the maximum dollar amount that's accessible on the part of individuals who qualify?
I do know for microloans, those are for 50,000 and below. And then for the other guaranteed loans, I was thinking there might be a representative from FSA talking about loans today. I'm not sure if they're on. They would be able to give more information than me. I'm not sure if someone else from FSA got on or not.
Is there Vanessa Moore? Is Mr. Vanessa Moore on?
Well, let me give two of those. You're right. On the microloan is $50,000, and I wanted to mention that because for two reasons. One, the micro urban farm and those loans. In a lot of cases where we're provided assistance to individuals and putting together the business packages for the farming operation as either beginning farming in working as a micro urban farm, it pretty much so fit in most cases what the needs are for those, depending on the size of the operation, what we call micro urban farm. I don't know if anyone else wants to speak from FSA, but I will mention the other two direct loan, and that $50,000 is for operating loan, $50,000, and of course capital loans, which would be different from the operating side of it, $50,000 for capital loan if it's a matter of where you meet the eligibility requirements for the capital loan, up to $50,000 if you say where you want to purchase an acre or 2 acres or something, and you've been in the business for a long enough period of time. I think the maximum period of time is 3 years that you must have been in the farming business operation to qualify for that loan. The other area I will mention would be the direct loan on the part of FSA under the regular loan program, direct loan program. For an operating loan is $400,000 for the regular operating loan. And again, on the other side of that, for capital investment, it's $400,000. That's for, again, land purchases, acquisition of property. And they talked about the air property issue. I'm just trying to merge all this in one area. Under the air property issue, FSA also has a program as relates to air property and accessing financing. That financing is through, and I don't know who they have as their preferred lenders or those who may be operating the program, but as the RFP came out, those who were eligible to participate in the air property loan programs were those what they call the CDFI, and those are community development financing institutions. In some cases, they are credit unions. Some credit unions are CDFI as well. So those are the ones, and those who applied to administer that program qualified to receive the money from FSA and to relend that money out to individuals who may have an interest in purchasing the interest of other heirs out on air property. Again, that's the loan program for air property. That program is also indirectly by Farm Service Agency in partnership with community development financing institutions and organizations who are administering that. I wanted to mention that for one main reason. It is a major resource when you have challenges in dealing with air property, maybe back with other heirs who have petitioned the court to receive their interest out of that property. If you should be able to access those dollars to purchase those heirs' interest out, and those who do not want to sell that interest in the land then can retain the ownership of that property. I will say this is one area where it is very, very clear that there are opportunities for creating equity as relates to real property ownership, where there's undivided interest, getting clear title to that property, and where it becomes either more marketable as far as making available for lease purposes, operating purposes, as well as participating in other USDA program services, be it with NRCS programs, particular, or with Farm Service Agency. And again, and I'm not going to get into the guarantee side other than saying this: on the guarantee side of the program, I'm not quite sure about the dollar amount, but that program is also offered by Farm Service Agency, and that's where there is another lender, a bank. So it may be your primary bank that you're doing business with. If they are a preferred lender, then that direct lender can make the loan, and FSA provides a 90% guarantee against that loan. At one time it was $800,000. I think it may be better than $1 million now, but I know $800,000 guaranteed 90% on the operating side, and the equal amount, even if it's more now, would be on the capital investment side for land purchases, land acquisition, and things of that nature. So, last part on the loan servicing side. If it's an operating loan, because there are two categories: a regular operating loan for operating expenses for labor, for field expenses and things of that nature, herbicide, pesticide, seeds, and all that you'll be involved with your farming operation. That's only for 1 year. It has to be paid back at the end of that farming season, the time period that you set that up within the context of your business plan or the promissory note with FSA. The other side of that, on the operating side, is what they call the chattel investment. The chattel investment is that where you're investing in farm equipment. If you're investing in farm equipment as a part of your operating loan, then that can be spread out for up to 7 years, over a 7-year period of time, as far as retiring the debt for the equipment loan. So equipment loan is a part of the operating loan itself, but a longer period of time for repayment. Final category I want to give reference to under their loan program side is where they have the Farm Service Agency emergency loans, or disaster loans, some call. In the cases where there has been a disaster, then FSA, I see that they have a listing that's in the chat box. They have a listing of the banks that's doing the re-lending on air property. I really hope all the listeners are paying attention to that. They have a listing of those banks that are participating on air property issue. We have a lot of challenges in that area, and that is one of the greatest opportunities for building equity in African-American community, is getting clear title and ownership of air property. And I'm gonna use myself as an example. if I had interest or ownership in property and I had 25% interest, and I had 3 people who wanted to sell their interest in that property, and it has to be at the market value once there is a decision through the courts, if they petition the courts for at the market value. Then if I buy that 3/4 interest out, then I know I have a 20%, 25% equity position in where my asset holding would be within the context of retention of that air property. And it would, it could flow either way. It could be 2 individuals not to sell, 2 individuals to sell. Then you got a 50% equity position as far as asset holding is concerned in that particular real property. And that can be moved into an LLC and other means of structuring from an organizational perspective. But anyway, we do provide technical assistance in that area and working with individual families. And if you have any questions or concern about it, I ask you can reach us at 870-734-3005. And our farm advisor, myself, will work directly with you from an advising perspective. Or if you have an attorney that's working with you, then that works very well too. And again, definitely contact FSA regarding those preferred lenders and those who are administering the loan program for air property. Just want to mention those categories. I don't know if there's if there's a lending limitation on that. I'm not, I want to say it is, but I'm not quite sure. It probably would depend upon the institution itself or those who are actually directly making the loan. That's not a guarantee loan program. It's a relending program. So you have a relending program, the guarantee program, the direct loan program. That's all I have on that. Let's some other questions from the audience.
We have a question from the audience, and someone stopped me and they said that they have acreage outside of their home, and they've been going a garden or a truck patch, and they wanted to know about establishing a farm. Number one, that's the first one. And these questions are directed to Mr. James Rose. If you would come up in order, come up to please. And the other question was, NRCS, they got approved for a high tone, and NRCS was giving them $9,800 for the hoop house or the greenhouse, as he called it, high-end greenhouse. But the greenhouse itself cost $15,000, and NRCS only approved them for $9,800.
Okay, so we do have a cost cap. On the high tunnel, I would check to see what size we're paying for and what size you're pricing. That would be where I would start. And then after that, we're kind of limited this year. Some COVID's hit us real hard on some of these prices. Between the high tunnels and fertilizer and some of those things, we're getting a little bit out of where we normally are in our percentage of the cost. But I would start with the size of the high tunnel and see what size we cap at. So what size you're pricing and what size we cap at. And then what was the?
Like she grow a garden every year outside of her house. And as far as, is there anything USDA would do on an acre? The homestead is on an acre of land.
And so it's all in that.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, so in case you said a while ago, we can do a farm and tract number on an acre. And then we can look at either a high tunnel, and the high tunnel won't take the whole acre up. It's only going to be 40 foot wide and maybe 80 foot long, might be 32 by something. We can look at irrigation and some of the nutrient management type stuff to go along with it that needs to happen inside the garden. We call it alternative crops, but anything to go in that garden to help improve production, make it more efficient, and be more environmental friendly. So.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Rowe.
That's a question in the chat.
It's a question in the chat.
Yeah, someone asked, does FSA have a list of partnering banks for area property relending program?
The question was, does FSA have a bank, a list of banks? And I believe Dr. King just said it's in the chat box for the relending program. The number of banks. Dr. King,
Albert, Albert,
Yes,
yes,
sir.
FSA put that in the chat box. And again, FSA has that information at their local office. All of the financing institutions that are
What's your number?
participating with the air property lending. And if you're not able to access that in the chat box of those who are in person, they do have a listing of all the institutions, all the banks that are doing the relending program.
Okay, we're not able to access it here, but you can come here and give them your phone number locally, and then they can hit the, whatever, to get the FSA.
Okay, so for FSA or NRCS, the Lewisville number is 870-921-4206. FSA is extension 3, NRCS is extension 2. Texarkana is 870-773-3531. Hope is 870-777-8800. And Camden is 870-836-2089.
Would you just repeat that one time? Jack?
All of them are.
Yeah, all of them.
So
All of
Lewisville is 870-921-4206. And then Hope is 870-777-8800. Texarkana, 870-773-3531.
Yes, sir. The last one, 870-777.
8800.
And that's for who?
Hope.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rowe. Now we can go on with the program. I believe the county forester is on.
Yes, sir, I'm
Do we
here.
have foresters here? Okay.
Yep.
Mr. Stoke, how are you?
Good, good. How are you all doing today?
We're doing great.
Okay, you wanted me to talk about forest stewardships, correct?
That's correct, and other program services that Forestry Service has to offer.
Okay, let's start out with the long-term one, the forest stewardship. Forest stewardship is a free service, and it's a long-term plan. It starts from where we come out and visit all the way till you harvest your trees, which is a good idea because there's always different foresters coming in and out, and plans change along the way. So when something does change, they can always look at your plan, or if you live out of state or something, you can see the timeline, call the forester, and they can go out and check to see if you need a thinning or a burn or anything like that. The requirements are easy. You need 10 acres, contiguous acres, and you got to fill out a little form. Not very big at all. Name, address, and it wants to have put down a list of objectives. The objectives are timber, wildlife, recreation, and aesthetics. And you also have a box for other. So that works out real easy. And before you do it, you can always ask one of us to come out, one of our foresters, to help you define your objectives a little more, to see what's out there. A lot of times people inherit property or something that hasn't been looked at in 10 years or so. And we could come out there and say, well, we need to thin this or remove some here, or look what you got. You already have pine trees growing. We just need to thin them out. And that happens a lot too. Then you can get down to more of what James was talking about, a short-term management plan. A lot of those are for replanting. We come out, we'll look after a harvest. We'll see how to site prep it and give you a direction with that. Direction being, does it need to be sprayed? Does it need to be burned? Does it need to be ripped? If it needs to be burned, does it need to be ripped? And then what do you want to plant? Do you want to plant hardwood? Do you want to plant loblolly? Are there streams around there that we need to stay away from or actually plant to get some roots to hold that soil in there? Also, there's also fire breaks and stuff to go around and protect yours from getting burnt up or to protect you from going on to another person's property. And that's always a good thing to have. Also boundaries. We look at that and we'll write the whole plan. We'll send it into like James Reynolds or something. He'll rank it, approve it. And then you go ahead and start contracting your contractors on that. And we can take you step by step. I've been out there every step of the way with a bunch of people. Just what species, what spacing, how many do I order? How much acreage is this? That kind of thing. And I'm always open for questions and help and everything else. But again, the stewardship is a long-term plan. From my perspective, I usually have another forester go out there. So there's two sets of eyes looking at it. They have an overall plan to go through it. That's why when you know your thinnings are coming up, you call me, you say, hey, Keith, my thinnings are coming up soon. And I can get you on a southern pine beetle plan or something like that for the thinnings. And that'll give you $50 an acre. I just check it before, check it after, and you'll get $50 an acre. Plus, if your timber's worth anything like pulpwood or something, you'll get that as well. I can also give you an overview of how long. A lot of people ask for a timeline. What if I plant now? How long is it going to be? If I plant hardwood here, how long is it going to be? If you're going for wildlife, turkey, deer, quail or something, we can get you like burn a quarter of your property at a time. So you got differences in grasses, differences in habitat, and that encourages the turkey and the quail and deer and everything to come onto your property. Pine trees are usually the most for income, and hardwoods are usually most for recreation. That's basically what I have there. If you have any questions, or my job is more specific to forestry. And then I'll work with you and I'll work with the NRS together to get you what you want in particular.
Thank you, Keith. Let me, I have a question regarding the forestry. Whenever we're doing the business plan for a farming operation or a business operation, as it has to do with real property, forestry included as a part of a farming operation, revenue generating. Now, I know from be it softwood or hardwood, you have more of the long-term basis of your returns coming back off of that, unless you have existing plantings, existing trees that has a certain age on it that may be ready within the next, say, 3 to 5 years for harvesting, and your recommendation on that. What about other income from the programmatic perspective, such as wildlife habitat? Individual landowners, they are paid a certain dollar amount once they deal with the cost share based on implementing the practices?
Wildlife habitat, it can be. There are other agencies like Quails Forever. There's a national turkey one and that kind of thing. And what I would do is when you request that, I get actual a wildlife officer, a wildlife biologist to come out and look with me and help me coordinate the programs with what you want and how to do it. Where's the best space for the openings? Where are the best places for oak trees, for the acorns and stuff like that? And I always work together with a biologist, a wildlife biologist.
Okay, Kate, I appreciate that. One of the things we do, whenever we are developing a plan for individuals on real property, be it our property, whichever, we feel that that's definitely, it's very important, and understand what's the best business practices to be implemented that relates to revenue generating, and what are the means by which to do that. Now, my next question would be, because if you go and you get this cost share basis done, and there's a need for additional revenue, whether or not these practices that are being implemented on the part of the landowner and the part that is shared by Forestry Service, to what extent does those practices also qualify under NRCS conservation programs? Do y'all partner where they get 100% of the costs that may be incurred for implementation paid by partnering with forestry and natural resource conservation services?
The highest I've seen is 90% on that. That would be a better question for James Reynolds to answer. I can give estimates and ballpark figures on what's going to happen, but James would be the one that says we're going to pay this much, we're going to cost share you this much, unless it's a pure state program like a southern pine beetle thinning or something.
Okay, so I think the way the question was asked was, can we use pine beetle and one of our programs to do the same work? And we can't, it's really double dipping. I think part of it is some of his funding for the pine beetle might come from some federal dollars, and that would be stacking federal dollars. But like pine beetle and the stewardship, if we're paying for a thinning, so to speak, it's not really costing anything to get the thinning done as long as there's wood there to be hauled to the mill. So you're kind of making a little money, but we don't, like you said, 90% somewhere in there. That's what we're looking at. But we can't stack them. They either pay for tree planting or we pay for it, or they pay for thinning or we pay for it. So does that answer the question? Or?
Well, I'm not trying to stack them. I'm trying to deal with the gap itself. You know,
Right.
the 90% gap. If Forestry Service does 90% and you got a 10% gap, then can RCS cover the other 10%? Another comparable to that, if you can get 50% out of Forestry Services, then you can get another 50% out of Natural Resource Conservation Services. And I think the answer to that is no, you do not match up to share the cost basis to go up to 100%.
Right. It'd be nice if we did. We don't.
Okay. All right, gentlemen, thank you. Thank you very much. I want to add this in, and if FSA is on, maybe can answer this question. I think that Farm Service Agency at one time, and I think they possibly still do, they did what they call the conservation loans as well. And there's a time period for repayment of those, different from what just a regular operating loan is. Is FSA still on? Well, I would suggest the individuals that apply for the services that I really would highly recommend that you do, both with forestry and with NRCS. On the cost share side, the 10%, the 10% gap, there may be a possibility where you can put together a plan that would entail a 10%, that 10% variance being covered by way of a loan by Farm Service Agency. Now, what is very imperative in that whole process is what Forest Service Agency gave reference to is wildlife. That a part of that business plan itself, also you're working with wildlife, either by way of how you can lease the land out to some of the sources that was referenced, like I've mentioned, that you're leasing the forestry land out for revenue generating purposes, are having a clear-cut understanding of other leasing options that you have for that forestry land so that you have both immediate income revenue being realized off of the forestry land, as well as your long-term revenue that can be realized from timber sales based on the trajectory that is done by Forestry Service on sales that will be coming up. When you get involved with dealing with possibly a loan, have the business plan with your revenue, income projection, along with of course, they're going to ask for security along with that. That's all I have as far as any comments that I have. Any other questions from the audience or those who are online?
Don't let the 10% scare you, because by the time we look at the package as a whole deal, we're talking state average cost. Some of the practices may pay better and some may pay worse. It may wash out in the end. If you look at it as a whole, you may not be out anything. And you get, say, tree planting, for instance, you'll end up getting some better trees on the ground than what would just come up from Mother Nature. Works out a little better. That's all I have.
Well, I appreciate that, because in no uncertain terms, 100% works a lot better than 90%. From the cost aspect of it, And that's what we like to look for. I hope everyone heard that. There are possibilities, means as to how the plans can be done, that you do have 100% coverage. But it does take a very close partnership and working relationship, both with forestry services along with NRCS. And again, I strongly encourage you to involve wildlife as part of that team effort for those type plans, along with Arkansas Land and Community Development Corporation, and putting those together. That's all we have on session 2. Next, we have a session 3, and session 3 is on USDA rural development. Now, my understanding, I don't think we have a representative. I received a text from Albert from USDA rural development. I'm going to attempt to.
Dr. King, let me have one word. I would just like to let everyone know the members of the Baptist District have prepared refreshments for the attendees here. I just want to give you guys a heads up, and they'll be bringing them in a minute, Doc. And if we could just take a quick break when they bring the refreshments in, if we could, that's what they asked me to do. And I like to try to do what the host or the hostess asked. That's all. I'll let you know, Doc, when they come. Mike, somebody will let you know. Go ahead.
Okay, well let me say this. I will probably be finished at that time, so you definitely have ample time to do that for all those who are there in person. Again, I can't speak for USDA rural development. We do partner with all USDA agencies as one USDA. But I will say USDA rural development is the primary lender for affordable housing. Affordable housing, particularly in rural communities. If your population is at a certain level, then you don't qualify. Individuals do not qualify. They do not make loans in those areas. I think the population is 35,000 or above. They do make affordable loans, direct loans to individuals. As a part of that affordable housing program, they also have a guaranteed loan program that they work with the preferred lenders, and they guarantee up to 90% of that particular loan for affordable housing. They also have home renovation loans, and I can't recall the number. I think it's the 504 or the 502 program, maybe the 502 program, where they can do up to $20,000 in lending at an interest rate to deal with renovation of a home. Normally, in most cases, those loans are made to deal with hazardous type of situations that exist. And of course, the cost of construction and renovation right now is extremely high. So, $20,000 does not go very far. But then in addition to the $20,000 1% interest rate, they have a $7,500 grant program to also assist in that area in dealing with renovation, addressing certain health hazard issues that may exist. It may be with the plumbing system, it may be with the heating and cooling systems, it may be with, I'm not sure roofing qualifies under that, maybe electrical, issues as well. But the total, with a combination of the loan and the grant program, will be $27,500 that they can do in the renovation program. And that's the 1% interest loan program and the $7,500 grant program. The direct loan program for building affordable housing, the loan now can go up to $268,000. Now that has changed tremendously in recent years, and that's because of the cost of construction and how it's gone up. There are subsidies with that that create the affordability. Same income guidelines for dealing with affordable housing is consistent with the income guideline that they have with HUD. With the HUD program, with the Section 8 housing program, they abide by normally based on the same income guidelines as for the affordable housing itself is concerned. They have the community facilities grant program, and they have the community facilities loan program. they have the infrastructure program for water sewer system, along with community facilities. They also have a business loan program, and the business and industry loan program, direct and particularly the guarantee program as well. As a combination to that, they have another grant program. I don't recall the specific acronyms for it. It used to be called the Rural Business Enterprise Grant Program. But under the grant program, and it can be administered either by a nonprofit or by a municipality, and where they are the recipient of the particular grant, and they have a particular business plan that it would either address or deal with a business expansion or a new business development, and then how that revenue will be dealt with either for continuous reinvestment into the community, for supporting business. And again, that's contingent upon the proposal and how that proposal go in. But that's under the rural cooperative business sides of it. So within the USDA rural development, you have the rural cooperative business, and then you have the housing program, which is a separate program area from rural cooperative cooperative business, but two different areas. They're also the primary both lender and providing grant revenue to deal with the issues around technology, access to technology in rural areas. That's sort of a quick summary of the USDA rural development, but they have a lot more. You know, I'm not going to deal with all the program areas again. I don't have it before me here now, but some of the specific programs for community economic development, and I know areas that come up consistently with us and working with individuals and with communities is accessing those resources, particularly in housing. They did have, or they still do have, I don't know what type of dollars they have available, is under the program on housing for affordable housing under the 515 program. And the 515 is multi-family housing used both by the private sector and by nonprofits for to create affordable housing in local rural communities. The 515 multi-family housing program. Again, I don't know what's in the budget, what they have available at this point. Now, I haven't seen any RFPs out, but again, the RFA, but that would not be necessary an RFP coming out, but it's like the other loan programs, you would apply directly accordingly for those loan services. That's all I have on. Again, I mentioned water and sewer systems and how they work with municipalities providing financial resources in that area as well. I'm gonna move on now to I'm back. I apologize for that, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know what happened. I don't know if that was on my end, but a glitch. I got kicked off. Can y'all still hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. You got kicked off.
Okay. But again, I was giving I was giving reference to the Unified Air Property Act, and this is my closing point, unless there are questions. Unified Air Property Act allows individuals, if a disgruntled heir petition the court that they want their interests out on the property, it allows then that for the individuals who want to keep the property, that individual must first offer their interest to the other interest holders at the market value of that property. Now, once you, and the judges will issue that by way of court order, the court decree itself, in accordance with the law, that then the individual other heirs, that particular heir must offer their interest to the other heir that the market value that's accepted on the part of the other heirs, unless there's a dispute on the value and you want to get more than one appraisal, that's based on appraised value. Then once that particular offer is made and it's accepted by the remaining heirs, then they can buy that heir's interest out and have controlling ownership of that property, those who do not want to sell the land. It also provides you with a working document if you were going to make application for an heir property loan with the lending institution. Then it has been defined in the court, and all the other heirs have signed a statement of agreement that they want to maintain the interest in the property and that they want to make this loan on the property to buy that interest out. Then it puts you in a position to have both the legal document to get the loan with all those interest heirs who want to maintain the property and to secure that loan through, not through FSA, but by the CDFI lending institution itself. And again, another loan program that is provided by way of Farm Service Agency through those CDFIs for retaining heir property. So again, the court process should not scare anyone. It is not a difficult process. It is an act that can be used as a beneficial tool once those individuals petition the court and the court's ruling for them to offer the interest back to the other heirs, and then all the other heirs being in agreement with a petition or resolution or statement of interest to retain the property and to buy that individual interest out. I would suggest during that process that all the remaining heirs would agree to have an administrator, to agree to who would serve as the administrator for the property. It gives you the ability then to deal with accessing more of USDA resources, be it with NRCS, with an administrator signing up for those programs, with everyone being in agreement with that, as well as for other resources as well. So that's all I have on the air property area. Again, air property is one of the broadest areas that we have in our local community that can provide for building assets and equity in the African American community. So that's all that I have. If there are any questions, Albert, in the audience, I will entertain those questions now.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Dean, you mentioned earlier when you were talking about air properties, that there was an educational manual, summary and fees. Do you have that
Yeah.
here?
Well, she's talking about the heirs property training packet. I got your address. When you sign in, we'll send that from our office.
Okay.
I'll send that. Everybody, Doctor, the question was, she asked about the heirs property training packet in the manual that we have. I did not bring any. We brought the last issue of the advancer with us, but I will send everybody who all needs the heirs property training packet. If you could, raise your hand. So that's about the entire audience. So we'll send. The other thing, did everyone sign in? If you didn't sign in, I can't send you nothing. But if you signed in and gave me your correct address and contact information, And also it's important because as one of the individuals from USDA was saying, they don't send letters out, they do email. We need your email address too, because we send emails or e-letters from them, okay? So we need your email address also. Yes, sir.
Suppose you don't have a problem with the air, but you want to incorporate, how hard is that?
It's question, Dr. King, and I can answer, but you only, I'm gonna let you answer. He said, if you don't have a problem, a gentleman question from the audience was that if you don't have a problem with the air, but you want to incorporate, he wants to know as far as some of the lending money, relending money, is that available? In court, you want to create a land trust or a limited liability corporation, correct?
Yes, for most of that, you know, the one person has agreed to be the supervisor, can do business.
Yeah, the administrator. So he's talking about creating the LLC or a land trust. Can you hear me, Doc?
Yes, I understand. I understand.
Okay.
The relending program is to deal with air property issues or barriers with air property. It doesn't appear that, based on your question, that there's a barrier. You have all the heirs are in agreement, but there is a specific thing that you want to do as relates to the air property, and that creating an entity to put the real property into. I think that's a very good idea. I don't know of a loan program that they have where they actually make you a loan to create the entity. I would suggest that you either get with, if you know everyone is in agreement, and if you want to deal with it in the most economical fashion, I would check to see if possibly legal services can create such an entity for you. It's more cost effective. There's a possibility that legal services would do that. The other suggestion I would have for you is that in some cases you have you have law schools and where such as the one in Little Rock, you know, but where you have law students, you may have a law student that will work with you in creating an LLC. It's not a complicated process. You can practically do it, but I don't recommend that anyone do anything that involves legal work on their own without getting the proper instructions or getting advice from those who are certified in those areas, and that happens to be attorneys. But it shouldn't be a really costly process, you know, to do that. But I don't know of a loan program that they have that provides for heirs just to create legal entities for the property, unless it's a dispute.
All right, thank you, Doc. One thing that I failed to do was we need to acknowledge the individual who drove up with me in the 3.5, 4 hours. My colleague and farm advisor, Mr. Michael Tucker, has been working. We've been working in unison as far as getting the technical thing. Dr. King, do you have any additional information? They have arrived with the refreshments. Mr. James Room, the district conservationist, I believe he's going to break bread with us. Unless you have something else, Reverend Tatum, I'd like for you to come bless the food.
Albert,
yeah.
Albert,
Yes, sir.
For the purpose of, before you come, let me just say this. For the purposes of all of those who have joined us online, I want to express my appreciation for that. You know, I know that those who are in person, who are participating in person, you know, they're only going to make us hungry now as we listen to them and they talk about how great this food is. So Albert, what I want to do now is I want to thank all the USDA agencies, those who have participated. There's again one USDA as far as service providers, except is concerned in partnership with other nonprofits, community-based organizations, and private sector. Thank them for the work that they do and for their participation in this particular event. And we have others that will be that's coming up. You'll find some of those listed on our website that will be coming up in the very near future in other locations. I encourage everyone, if you have not, and I know we don't have that to put it inside the chat box now, we will in the future. We'll have a survey, and we may mail some out, a survey for you to complete to let us know how we can do better, with what we do and doing these outreach meetings. Other things we should possibly add to the agenda. I'll take off the agenda. The other area is just on the resource manual. Please give Albert, those in person, the name and address so we can put you on the mailing list. If you're not receiving a newsletter from us already, please call the office 870-734-3005. Give us your name and your address so we can put you on our mailing list. We do put information in our newsletter and our e-letter ongoing as a partner with FSA and NRCS regarding their program services and how to access them. So we do that by, as well as we do a news bulletin, we do a newsletter, and we do an e-letter. So if you're not on the mailing list for both electronic mailing and regular mail, please get on the mailing list. We want to expand our ability to partner and to network at the community-based level to the greatest extent possible. That's all we have at this point, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining in. We'll look forward to seeing you at our next meeting. And Albert, we're gonna sign off online, and I hope everyone enjoys that, what sounds to be a very delicious meal.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. King, Mike, in the meeting. Thanks, everyone. You want to click off? Oh, okay. All right, you can just bless the food.